Welcome to Edo 11. Today we will discuss about the other seven philosophies of education. When we say again philosophies of education, these are your guides or these are your mindset, how you see your students, how you see the teaching and learning environment, and how you think students would learn best. So today I will be discussing to you seven philosophies, which are the essentialism, progressivism, perennialism, existentialism, behaviorism, linguistic philosophy, and constructivism. So let's try to focus on these areas. So, what are the areas that we will cover today? Aside from the definition, basically we will focus on why, why these. What is the concept or the reason why teachers teach in this kind of philosophy? What are the things that teachers teach, what to teach, and how to teach using or according to these philosophies. So these are the three areas that we will focus. So let's begin first with essentialism. So when we say essentialism, it pertains to one's essence, kahalagahan mo. So according to this philosophy, this is quite teacher-centered. Why is it called teacher-centered? Bakit siya tinatawag na teacher-centered? It's because in this kind of philosophy, you are trying to condense the teacher teach for learners to acquire the basic skills. So teachers are teaching here so that students will have the basic skills. Okay, so that's the primary reason why teachers are here in this philosophy. They need to teach the basic skills. And they don't basically teach to shape the society, but more on to transmit the traditional moral values and intellectual knowledge that students need to become role model citizens. So they are more on the standards of values to become good role model, to become good citizens. Okay, they don't want to shape the society. They don't want to create change, but they just wanted to partake or transmit the values needed by our students to become good citizens. So the primary control in the teaching and learning process is given to the teachers. So what is being taught here? So again, since this is very teacher centered and the main point of essentialism is to teach the basic knowledge and skills and values to our students. So of course, their primary content is more on the learning of the basic and fundamental skills or the 3R. Okay, we have here the reading. Oh, not really 3R, but it's now 4. We have here the reading, writing, arithmetic, and right conduct. So these are the emphasis given by essentialism. Dapat si student marunong magbasa, marunong sumulat, may right conduct, at marunong rin siyang marunong rin siya into math. So that's what we expect our teachers are, our students are, because they believe that these are essential, these are important for you to learn complex skills. So if you have these skills, it would be easy for you to learn. If you have the basic or fundamental skills, it would be easier for you to learn the complex skills. And of course, in the curriculum, they include traditional disciplines. Again, because they are more of essence, the primary, the basic one. So we have here, they are teaching mathematics, natural sciences, history, foreign language, literature, and other one. And they don't like courses which are watering down the academic content. So it means that courses which are limiting the content, okay, napakababaw ng content. Okay, so teachers and administrators decide what is most important for the students to learn. So they don't like They don't like to bombard a lot of stuff to students. They just want the basic one. They wanted to emphasize what's important for students. So we have here also how to teach in this type of philosophy. So essentialist teachers emphasize on mastery of the subject matter because again, essentialism, that is the fundamental skills in reading, that is developing the students fundamental skills, so they need to be master of the subject matter. And teachers here are the role models of the students. So you need to be intellectual in your field. Because how would you be able to teach your students the mastery of the subject matter if you are not master of that subject? Okay, that's why teachers are seen as the traditional notion of teachers as the fountain of knowledge. Sa iyo nang gagaling yung mga nalalaman ng students. Or you are the paragon of virtue. You are the role model of your students. You need to be holy in such a way that you portray positive vibes to your students so that they will emulate positivity. To gain mastery of the basic skills, teachers have to observe core requirements. So how would students master these skills? Paano ba sila magiging expert sa mga bagay-bagay? They need to have long academic years and they should have many requirements. So because the longer the time that they spend in school, the more that they will learn something. So that's essentialism. With mastery of academic content, that's the primary focus of essentialism, mastery of your subject content, the basic or fundamental skills. Okay, of course, we rely on the use of textbook. That's why we are very bookish if we are essentialist. We follow what's in the book. We we prescribe more or we use more the lecture method in teaching and so on. So again, because we emphasize the mastery of knowledge or content. And of course, we emphasis on give emphasis on memorization and discipline. You need to memorize this because that's how you learn. That is essentialism. Paano mo makikita ang importance mo? It is through gaining mastery of the basic or fundamental skills, and teachers are fountain of knowledge. Sila yung nagbibigay ng information sa students because this philosophy is very teacher centered. So next one we have here progressivism. So if si essentialism is more on student centered, teacher centered, si progressivist naman ay more on student centered. So paano nagiging student centered si progressivist or si progressivism? Because the progressivist teacher teach to develop learners into becoming enlightened and intelligent citizens of a democratic society. So you are giving the students the skills which they need now, not for not basically for in the past or what is relevant in the past. So you are trying to enlighten the students to become useful or productive for the present. Okay? The progressivists are identified with with the need-based and relevant curriculum. What does it mean? So, if the society now needs students who are computer literate, of course, if you are following progressivist, you should also give them something that would be helpful to that problem. So, you will teach your students to become computer literate because you are preparing them now to live the life now. So if what is needed now is a computer literate student, you need to also develop your students to become computer literate. That's progressivist. The curriculum should not respond to students' needs and should rather, not should not. It should respond to students' needs and relates to personal lives and experiences. What makes the student centered? Because they give emphasis on the needs and also likes of our students. So they accept the impermanence of life and the yeah, inevitability of change. Here you go. So it means that everything, nothing is constant in this world except change. So change is constant. That's why you need to uh not prepare your students for the future because the future might change, but you need to prepare them now because this is the present. This is what is true to them now. Okay, again, they believe that change is the only thing that does not change. It does not change because every day there is change. Teachers are more concerned with teaching the learners the skills, how to cope with the change. So we are teaching them how to cope with the change, not uh, not more on the subject, but more on the skills. Instead of occupying themselves with teaching the fact, we don't teach them from the books, or we don't rely too much on the information from the books. Because again, that might not be true anymore tomorrow. So they would focus on teaching the skills in gathering and evaluating the information and problem solving, because problem solving skills is very relevant in the present. Kung ano yung kasalukuyan. The subjects that are given emphasis on natural and social science. And of course, students are also given the chance to reflect, change, and basically deal things on their own. So, how do we teach this one? When we say progressivism, students are very hands on. That's why this is called learning by doing. Progressivism is learning by doing. Learners learn by doing something. Okay, so teachers employ experiential methods because this is the way that students get to learn things. Believe that, again, is what I've said. Learners learn by doing. And one of the most famous proponent of progressivist is Jean Dewey. Jean Dewey states, when you say learning by doing, we can easily associate that one to Jean Dewey. So, the most popular advocate of progressivism, book learning, according to him, is no substitute for actual experience. So, it means that students get to learn more and get to learn deeper if they actually experience it rather than just what? Rather than just getting some or learning from the book. So, learning by doing. So we have here, they rely heavily on problem solving because that's the time that students get to apply step by step processes, the scientific method, solving the problems, or giving some solutions to the problems given. So again, we have your hands on, minds on, that is under progressivism. It's learning by doing. So they also make use of field trips because again, that's the time students get to interact with the society. So next we have here perennialism. Perennialism is another teacher-centered approach. Why is it teacher-centered? Because you focus more on the books. You focus more on the teachers and you disregard students. Students, the opinions of the students, you disregard students' participation in the learning process. So to develop the students' rational and moral powers. So work on the thinking of the students. Okay. According to Aristotle, we neglect students' reasoning skills. When we neglect the students' reasoning skills, we deprive them of the ability to use their higher faculties and control their passion and appetites. So we teach our students. We primarily would like to teach our students how to reason out. Because if they cannot reason out, they cannot really function well. Students cannot defend themselves. They cannot control their own thinking, and so on, because they don't express their thoughts. That's the main concept of perennialism. They wanted to emphasize on the reasoning or rational thinking of our students. And how do we aspire that one? If you are a perennialist, okay, you rely heavily on humanities and general education, not on specialized curriculum. What does it mean? So you teach the students all those necessary skills, the general skills, rather than on the specific skills. Okay, and they don't want the vocational, or they don't heavily rely on technical and vocational education. Because when you say perennialist, they believe that everything is permanent. I mean, what's in the past is still true today. Kung ano yung sinabi noon ay still true today. Just like the Bible. What has been said in the Bible before is still relevant today. Hindi nagbago. Maybe there are revisions, but not totally the concept has been changed, but more on for improvement. So that's the concept of perennialism. They believe on the great books. Okay, when we say great books, these are concepts that will repeat throughout time. So as they say, history repeats itself. Okay, so it means that the great books of the ancient and medieval as well as the modern times are repository of knowledge and wisdom of the tradition of culture which must initiate at each generation. So kung ano yung sinabi before, still true today. That's the concept of perennialism. So again, as what I've said, they focus on the great books like the Bible, the English language literature, the classical literature. What has been written before are still true today. What has been written as the story of Romeo and Juliet is still relevant today. The students do not allow students do not allow teachers do not allow the students' interests and experiences to dictate what they teach. So, walang consideration kung whether like ba to ni student or hindi. As long as ito ang nasa libro, as long as it is stated in the curriculum, they will teach that one. They apply whatever creative techniques and other tried and tested methods. So they only use what has been proven before. Okay, not more on what is relevant to our students. They engage also in Socratic dialogues, the question and answer portion, mutual inquiry, and many more. So again, perennialism, they believe that what has been stated in the past is still relevant today. Kung ano yung sinabi ng great book, still applicable siya today. Si teacher, wala siyang kinalaman or wala siyang pakialam whether students like it or not. As long as ito ang prescribe, gagawin niya to. Next, existentialism. Existentialism is another student-centered. When you say student-centered again, you consider students' needs, students' attitude, students' likes or interests. So, see, existentialism from the word itself, existence. Okay, you have to focus more on letting the students appreciate their purpose, letting the students appreciate themselves, their unique individuality, their emotions, their thoughts, and actions. So let the student control the learning process. So again, as what they say, existence precedes essence. So you need to understand first yourself. You need to recognize first yourself so that you will know what's your purpose. So, it's a role or our role here as teachers is to help students define their own essence by exposing them to various paths they make in life and creating their environments in which they freely choose their own preferred way. So, you need to help the students, you need to expose students with a lot of options so that they will really know what they want. The same thing with K to 12 curriculum. So you need to expose your students with a lot of stuff. You need to expose your students with uh you need to expose your students with what do you call this one, with various tracks, with various subjects, so that they will know what is really their goal, or their preferred course when they reach college. So that is existentialism. So in existentialist curriculum, students are given a wide variety of options from which they choose. So you give them a lot of choices. Okay, especially in the subject matter. So you also provide vicarious experiences that will help students unleash their own creativity and self-expression. Do not spoon feed your students. That's why this is student centered, because you let the students work on their own. You let the students express his or herself. And we have here, it focuses on the individual learning. That's why learning here is self-paced and self-directed. So it gives more highlight to students' choices, students' roles or participation and active involvement in the learning process. Students, our teachers are just facilitators of knowledge or facilitators of learning, because they help students know themselves and their place in the society. And we have here, we help our students through the values inculcation strategies and so on. So we help the students process their experiences. We don't leave the students hanging. We don't leave the students explore. We guide them. So again, we have here existentialist demands on education of the whole person, not just the mind. So it's not enough to teach the students about the knowledge or the content, but it is a must that students must be guided on a holistic approach. It's such in such a way that you are developing the students as a whole person. Then we have your behaviorism. Behaviorism, from the word itself, behavior. You believe that you can control the behavior of the students through some favorable, by giving some favorable environment. So we have here the physical environment. You need to have a conducive learning environment so that students will act this way. Dapat maganda yung classroom mo, so that students would like to come to school every day. So again, they are after students who exhibit desirable behavior in the society. You believe that students are shaped by their environment. So if you provide a very nice environment to your students, so you expect that students also become good. Students teach students to respond favorably to various stimuli in the environment. When we say stimuli, these are the factors that would trigger students to respond. So behavior teachers have to arrange environmental conditions so that students can make responses to the stimuli. So, dapat maganda yung classroom. Dapat di mainit para properly maka-learn si student. Okay, dapat malinaw. Dapat the lights are good. The temperature is humid and so on. Or not too humid and so on. Teachers ought to make similar clear and interesting to capture and hold the students' attention. When you say also in behaviorism, it's not only physical environment, but also the emotions of the students. You let them feel that they are part of the group. You let them feel that they are accepted. You let them feel that they belong to that group. You let them feel that they are someone whom they can rely on. That is behaviorism. So you control such aspects so that student would respond positively. Okay. And we have here the linguistic philosophy. So of course, in linguistic philosophy, you highlight communication of the students. So I wanted to develop students' communication skills so that they will be able to articulate well. Because if they can articulate well, they can express their thoughts clearly. They can voice out their opinions, and they can survive when they can express themselves. And also, teachers teach to develop the learners the skill to send messages clearly and receive messages correctly. So, in linguistic philosophy, we also teach them how to state the messages, how to receive messages correctly. Learners should be taught to communicate clearly, how to send clear and concise messages, and receive or how to decipher messages. So there are three communication or three ways on how communication takes place. So we have your verbal, non-verbal, and paraverbal. So as you know, verbal, these pertains to our messages, the direct messages, the the vocal messages that we try to deliver, oral or written. Non-verbal, these pertains to our messages delivered or sent through our body languages. When you say happy, that's verbal. When you show your happiness through your smile or your actions, that is non-verbal. So another one we have here, the paraverbal. This pertains to the intonation of our voices, the volume of our voices, the pacing, whether we speak so slow or whether we speak too fast. So that's how messages can also be transmitted. And so, how do we make our classroom here in linguistic philosophy? We focus on experiential way of teaching students how to use the language. So there must be communication among students. So teachers must not take over the discussion. Dapat di control ni teacher lahat or di naubos lahat ni teacher yung time, kakadakdak. Okay? Students must be given the opportunity to express themselves. Okay? So because this is the place, your classroom will be the place where students interplay minds and hearts. They share their thoughts, they share what's on their hearts, and so on. Because you encourage dialogue among learners and even between you and the learner. Then we have here the constructivism. So we have here constructivism. You believe that students to develop intrinsically motivated and independent learners adequately equipped with learning for them to construct knowledge and meaning. So it means that students needed to awaken their sleeping knowledge. According to John Locke, one of the famous constructivists, he believes in tabula rasa. When you say tabula rasa, you believe that students are blank slate. Okay? John Locke believes that students are blank slate. So, in such a way that students needed to construct their own knowledge to fill in these gaps. Students are not just empty minds, but they needed to something to be filled in their minds. So they need to know something. To know something, you just need to awaken that one. And we have here to develop intrinsically motivated independent learners equipped with learning skills for them to construct knowledge on their own. So this is also student-centered. Kasi si student yung nagko-construct ng knowledge. Students are taught how to learn, not what to learn. Okay? Tuturuan sila kung paano matuto para they will know what to teach or what to learn. They are taught skills like critiquing, evaluating information, posing questions, knowledge, and so on. So basically, they are the ones who construct their own meaning. Sila yung gumagawa or nagdi-discover ng own meaning nila. Hindi yung spoon-feed ni teacher. Teachers provide students with data or experiences and allow them to hypothesize, what if ganito, manipulate, and so on. But the teacher will not give them answer. They need to investigate, imagine, and invent. So the constructivist classroom is very interactive. Why? Students share ideas. They promote dialogue because they share thoughts. Okay, and the teacher's role here is to facilitate. You just guide your students. You don't give them the answer. So knowledge isn't a thing here. They can be, you can, according to constructivist point of view, they know knowledge is not something na ibibigay lang sa'yo. You must work hard to earn that one. You must construct it on your own. Okay, how do you do that one? Active and mental processes. And learners here are not passive. They are active. They are builders and creators of meaning and knowledge. And their minds are not empty. Okay? They already have something on them. Okay? Kailangan mo lang yung pukawin, yung natutulog na understanding sa mga students. So something is already instilled in the minds of the students. You just need to awaken it. That's why you just need to midwife your students. Midwife in such a way that you guide them, not spoon feed them, so that they will discover or unleash their own learning. Okay, and these are again the philosophies of education. Essentialism, you believe that this is very teacher centered. You need to discover or teach the students the fundamental skills. And we have your long calendar and teacher centered. Teachers are fountain of knowledge. Progressivism, this is student centered. You let the students learn by doing. You let the students also choose their expertise or something which they are good at. And you believe that change is only constant. You prepare them for the now, not for the future. Perennialism, you believe that what's true before is still true today or will still be relevant in the future. You believe in the great books. This is very teacher centered. Existentialism, you believe this is student centered. You give opportunity for students to explore on their own, to know who they are, to value who they are. So that's why you give more emphasis on students' creativity and self expression. Behaviorism, you believe that students' behavior are controlled or is controlled by their environment. So you try to manipulate some stimuli. So what are these stimuli? Like the physical variables. You try to make the classroom conducive for learning so that students will also respond properly. Linguistic philosophy, you believe that students needed to be taught how to communicate well because when they communicate well, they will be able to express themselves clearly. And we have here, this is also student centered because you give opportunity for students to use the language and do not dominate the classroom as a teacher. Then we have here last one, constructivism. One of the famous constructivists is John Locke. And we have here, you believe that students needed to create their own meaning or construct their own meaning. So you don't just give them, you let them construct it. You let them discover the meaning on their own. They are active, not passive. You are a facilitator of learning in this kind of philosophy. And that's it for philosophy of education.